Welcome to Success Your Own Way, a podcast about how real people define and redefine success throughout their careers. Hosted by Tina Shurick and Yifat Rogers, this show features candid conversations with guests who've made intentional choices, navigated change, and built lives aligned to their values. Their guests share their stories as well as strategies and tactics that help them along the way. Tina's a certified coach and a former corporate leader who supports professionals in making confident, values-driven decisions. Yifat is a consultant with a background in food science and engineering, helping people solve complex problems with a practical, no-nonsense approach. Each episode offers inspiration and actionable insights for anyone rethinking what success looks like in their life and how to get there.
Of Success Your Own Way. Today I'm very excited to have Pete and obviously Tina, my co-host. I'm going to turn it over to you, Tina.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this episode with Pete. Pete K. Wong spent years shrinking himself in rooms where he didn't feel safe to speak. I bet that's relatable to many of our listeners. At 36, he began training martial arts and boxing with his mentor, Guru Orpheus Black, a cool name, and something shifted. He built courage in chaos to help teams and leaders do the same thing, find their voice, hold their ground, and create cultures where others feel safe to do both. He does this through keynote speaking, workshops, and my favorite passion, coaching. Clients book Pete for his rare ability to make mental wellness accessible while fostering deep connection, leaving them feeling energized and inspired long after his sessions end. Yay. We are so excited to hear more from you, Pete, today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here and live and in person. Really wanted to. I saw Paul's episode and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like that must be cool just to hang out. So I wanted to be here. And so thank you for.
we do love the in person. I do love talking to people that are outside of Minnesota, but there is something very special about being able to host you here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we got a little taste test of what you've been up to, Pete, but we'd love to hear in your own words your story. How did you get where you are today?
Yeah. So I think let's start with, okay, so I am from Minnesota. My family is from China and then immigrated to Hong Kong. But all my brothers, I have one brother and two sisters. So it's four of us. We all grew up here in Minnesota, in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. But then like flash forward, I wanted to pursue filmmaking. And what happened was those of you that live in Minneapolis, the Riverview Theater used to show Hong Kong movies in the midnight showings. Oh. And I saw Jet Li. Some people don't know Jet Li, but like you should know Jet Li. He just released the book. Anyways, go get the book. I saw Jet Li on the big screen, and I was like, I want to do that. And then my brother had been doing kung fu martial arts since he was a young person, and my grandpa taught him kung fu. It was part of our family, but I never did it. I did like a lot of American young people do, sports, soccer, football, basketball, things on the street like that. And I saw Jet Li on the big screen. I was like, I want to do that. And then I started learning martial arts. And then some friends of mine introduced me to a martial art gym, a martial arts school. And it was actually in Crystal over here, not too far. At the Knights of Columbus, of all places, Crystal. And so I started training. And then I did what every filmmaker, person is supposed to do: learn, get out there, learn your craft. And then I did that. I pursued that. I accomplished. Like the thing is like in Minnesota, I never got the opportunities that I was like seeking, and I don't know, why. It didn't happen. And so it wasn't until I went abroad that I got an opportunity to read scripts. Oh. And I worked for a film producer. I won't name his name because it was not the best situation. I'll say that in hindsight. However, I learned a lot. and but it was a toxic environment. And then flash forward to more years, come back to Minnesota, but I got married and then came back to Minnesota. Things didn't work out. We got divorced and then decided to move to California, to Los Angeles, California, to keep doing that. And while I was pursuing film, I was also always working with youth. And I think like back then I didn't really fully appreciate, because I wanted something else.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I did the, working with youth, and I know I was doing a good job, but in the back of my head, I was chasing something. I was pursuing something. And then when I was out in LA, I think I still had that mindset. I think I was still chasing after something. I was trying to fulfill something that was always a little out of reach. And then what happened was I think I've always had these feelings. And I don't know if it was California, maybe the ocean, the palm trees, or I don't know what it was, or it was my mentor. But I found this mixed martial art meetup group in Pasadena, California, one night after work. And it's funny because the guy that introduced me to that meetup group, I never saw him go. And I ran into him one time. And I was like, how come you never showed up? He's like, and he got speechless, and he's like, well, I'm glad you did. But it like changed my life, and meeting my mentor just transformed me. I call it the transformation.
Yeah.
And basically what happened was it was the combination of the martial arts and boxing, the kind of because I never actually got punched before. Like, I've done martial arts since I was 15, but it was always like inside I always thought, if I ever got in a situation, I'm probably gonna get hurt. Like, and I just, okay, whatever. But when Orpheus started to teach me boxing, something came out of me that I never knew that I needed. And a lot of times in my workshops, I talk about tapping into our nature, tapping into our primal nature. And it's like it accessed a part of me that was, in some ways it was scary because I never explored it, and also it was very liberating, like that. And essentially what happened was I started to unpack a lot of things that I didn't like about myself. I started to question, Orpheus used to say a lot that it's not about answers, it's about questions. And when he would say that, I'd be like, I don't get it. What's the answer?
Right. Just tell me.
But now who I am today, I'm like, wow, I got so many questions. And I'm always seeking more and more questions. And I love being around people who are asking questions. And so, but I had to face those things that I was so afraid to face, and like unpack the shame, unpack the insecurities, unpack why am I not confident here? Why do I feel fear here? And I can go into more detail about that, but essentially that's the transformation. And from that point on, I was like, huh. And so I was actually in an acting class in Burbank, California. It was like an 8-week program. And by week 4, I was sitting in that class and I was like, wow, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I have, friends that are in the industry, and, hear their stories, like being on set for 16 hours. And I was just like, why is it that I don't want to do that anymore? I still like movies. So it took a while because I questioned, like, is it my fear of pursuing film? Like, that's why I'm not doing this anymore? Or is it just, it doesn't align with who I am anymore? Or there's something better for me that I just have to go explore. Yeah. And so I started to, I remember that I got excited, and I remember telling Orpheus, like, this is what I want to do. And I told him about the workshops. I want to share with people the things that I've learned. And he's like, you want to ask people to work hard? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you want to ask people to do stuff that they don't want to do? You want to ask people to be uncomfortable? It's like, yeah. He's like, good luck. Right?
That's my job.
So,
Yeah.
right. That's
See,
why I
Mike,
wanted to share that.
I think
So-
it's all of our jobs right now.
Yeah. If you're looking for a consultant that's going to ask you a lot of hard questions, that's me.
So
Any
that's
consultant.
why I wanted to share that, because it's like, but I knew what he meant, and at the same time I was like, oh, I don't know, but okay, let's just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so about 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, I started looking at this as more like a business,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's even taken me a while to figure out like what it is, and just recently, agent, like a branding agency that I've been working with, um, somebody that was introduced to me, she actually helped me like re kind of brand, and also even have a new like term for who I am, like the role, and
Wow.
it's a psychological safety facilitator.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay.
So
You're the first psychological safety facilitator I think I've ever met.
all right, thank
Yes.
you.
But I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how it started, and then it's just a lot of trial and error, and a lot of like feeling like, am I failing at this, or also like I'm actually really good at this. And so in the last couple of years I've just been honing it, sharpening it. And then just yesterday I was talking to that I just met her recently, but Aisha, and branding,
Okay.
and we've only like that was the first time we met, but just talking to her, and her like understanding, like, this is where I'm at. And the thing that I told her is that the shift that's happened is that now I actually believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so and that's where we're at.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What a great story.
I love it. And I'm honestly, since we started doing the podcast and since I left General Mills, sometimes I find myself, during the day, I was like, this is not giving me energy. And we've done the podcast, and I really need to stop. It's like, have I heard, am I trying to define success almost that's just super easy? It was like everything was like, oh, this is really hard. Maybe I don't have energy for it. Maybe I don't need to do it anymore. So I almost try to take a step back from always doing like the most energetic thing, because then it's like, oh yeah, this is stressing me out. I'm gonna remove that from my business offering.
Yeah.
But like in reality, there's still gonna be things that we don't want to do, and we can't make the shift. How would you suggest to someone that is like, am I just lacking in motivation right now? Am I just going through like, this rough patch or is it like this is something more persistent, and really I need to take it to think again? What was that? So you mentioned sitting in that improv in the acting class and kind of coming to that realization. What happened between then and kind of actually, like, how did you know that is the real, like, no, this is not for me, not just like, this is not a great day, I'm not really digging this acting thing today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me personally, it's many different things, small and big. Sometimes if I hear, like, for example, the first time I think I heard, I'm just throwing a top of the head. There's a lot of people, but top of my head right now that sticks out is Les Brown. The first time I heard Les Brown speak, I don't know if it was a podcast or a YouTube video. I was like, man, this guy's like I'm getting emotional. Like, what is this about this guy? And then years later, my mentor from the National Speaker Association, Dr. Jermaine Davis Jr., he mentioned the first time that he met Les Brown.
Oh.
And or the first time, I think he met him. But then how my mentor inspires me, Dr. Jermaine Davis Jr. inspires me. And so I think those type of things inspire me. But then also, when I used to do workshops in LA, and like, because when you're starting off, you're trying to do wherever you can,
saying yes, right?
And I remember doing workshops, and I'm trying to remember if I did any in LA. I know I when I came back to Minnesota, I did one, and it was basically my parents and my friends. But in the moment that I was doing it, I was like, man, this is so cool. And then inside, I'm like, man, it'd be cool to get paid to do this. I was like, okay, right. And then the feedback, and then I started doing it more and more. And then also when you're doing it, and maybe you don't have like the numbers, like maybe you have like one person, or maybe you have like, and so love or hate Jay Shetty, one of the things that he said was when he first started to share his wisdom um, about Buddhism, about monk, his experience as a monk, he would go to colleges and there would be like nobody show up, but yet he gave it 200%. So I always kept that in mind, like, you know, it's not about like the numbers are nice, the money is nice. However, if you're doing something that makes you feel, again, also Jay Shetty, fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
I started to look into that, like, okay, what brings me fulfillment, whether I get paid or not. Of course, now looking at it as a business is pay is very important. However, there are things that I will still do if I believe in the impact that I can create, or the audience that I can speak to that maybe I don't normally get a chance to speak to, or whatever. But it's like, and this is from the Speaker Academy, is what is the value that you bring? And so I think that when people can take time to realize what's the value that you bring into this world, and accept and appreciate that and start there. And it kind of goes back to what Orpheus was teaching me back in the day when we're training boxing. He's like, you're the champ. And when he said that, it took me a while to kind of just embrace that. And I was like, and it was physically like I was going out there to spar somebody, and he said, go get him, champ. And I turned around because I didn't know he was talking to me. and so when you start to like break it down more and more, it's like, what are the voices that we tell ourselves? What are the things that we're saying to ourselves? So I think the person that like is questioning is like, maybe look at, what are your values, but also what motivates you, what inspires you, what gives you not just passion but fulfillment, and start doing that thing. Like I always think of like young people, like when I talk to young people, I always tell them like, find something that you enjoy doing and keep doing it until you don't enjoy doing it anymore. But if you enjoy doing that thing, eventually you're gonna be like, that skill is gonna be so like
ingrained.
Yeah, exactly. That people are gonna seek you out. And it's something that no one ever told me when I was young. It's not something, I was always chasing. And the thing is that and that's why like the Buddhists, I don't consider myself any specific religion. However, at the time of my transformation, a lot of the Buddhist principles really spoke to me, because I could just sit and just like, because it was all about like starting within. And it took me a long time to figure that out. Like, I don't get it. Like, what do you mean within? And something that I'll always remember is when you can sit. Actually, I get in trouble because I quote Orpheus a lot, and people are like, "You gotta start quoting yourself." I'm like, I do. Maybe I need to work on that. However, he's got some great nuggets, and so why not share them? And one thing that Orpheus said to me that now I share with others is, the hardest conversation you can have is the one with yourself. When everything's turned off, when the world is, and so in my workshops, I call it quiet the noise. So when you can sit, and what rises to the surface, those voices like, you're not good at this, or you're amazing at this, and, or probably some trauma starts opening up, right? However, if you can just sit there and allow those feelings, allow those emotions, allow those, like even if you're getting transported to the past, you're thinking about the future, like, can you just sit, and then can you come back and just be present? And so what I realized when I started doing that, if I could face those things, and lots of times it was pain, lots of times it was like, man, why does that hurt? And in the past I would run away from it. I would like turn it off. I'd be like, numb, how can I numb myself to it? How, turn up the music. And Orpheus gave me that permission, like just through our friendship, to sit with it, even if it hurts. and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of my things is pain is part of the process. And so I think somebody, if they're willing to sit there and ask those questions and start to unpack for themselves, like, okay, then they'll start seeing like, oh, I actually really have gifts in this area.
Yeah.
You know, another thing you can do is, and I got this from somebody else, can't remember, is to go ask 5 people that you trust the most.
Yeah.
What do you think of me? What do you think are, you know, my talents, and, you know, what am I really good at? And just one last example here. I remember I used to have a group of the Stevensons. It was a brother, or 3 brothers and 1 sister. I used to train martial arts with Kung Fu at the Knights of Columbus in Crystal. And we had a get together one time. And I remember the oldest brother coming up to me and saying, "Pete, you're really good at bringing people together." And I always like remembered that. And it always stuck with me. And it went into that tool belt. I was like, how am I going to apply this? And, you know, like many of us, like, how do I apply this and then, you know, build a career off it or something like that, right? And it's like, and that's exactly what I'm doing now. I create safe spaces for people to show up as their most authentic self, because we live in a world where we don't always get to do that, or we don't feel like we can.
Right.
And so it's a party every time.
Absolutely. It's so relatable to past guests too, where this ability to be a little bit mindful is so challenging because folks are thrusting themselves into their corporate careers and really going deep. And sometimes I wonder, is staying in a corporate career that where you're just grinding that wheelbarrow path, you know, back and forth to home, and it's like Groundhog's Day all over again? Is that a protection mechanism to keep you from really dreaming and figuring out what's fulfilling? Or does it come from a place of, this is what I'm expected to do? Or is it really a means to ultimately get the chance to find your fulfillment, as you said? Like, it's just, even doing this podcast has opened my own questions as to what's this motivation for people to stay in things that are unhealthy, unsatisfying, you know, or unsatisfactory. Is it just the money? Like, what is it that keeps people in their place and not figuring out their fulfillment, you know, journey, so to speak?
Yeah. And I think, because I think it's important for everyone to stop and to pause, take a pause, and because you're talking about that wheelbarrow, and it's like, before you burn out, and recognize, like, is this, like, am I finding fulfillment? Right. And I look at it like this, because I've had a lot of conversations with people, like, so before my job at so I was working at Century College, the TRIO program. And then our funding did not happen in October, and I got laid off. However, I was working there for 4 years. But before that, coming back to Minnesota from LA, I worked at Whole Foods. And I remember having conversations with my managers or you know, the people that were training me in. And as they were sharing and me getting to know them better, I started thinking, like, in my head, I was like, are they happy? Are they truly enjoying what they're doing? And I started to notice in myself that I was a little judgmental. And then when I kind of quiet that noise, and I was like, okay, it's not your job to determine whether they're happy or not. What you should be doing is getting to know them better and appreciating who they are. And so when I started doing that, I realized that, like the person that was training me, he was happy. Is it what he wanted to do? I don't know. Right. That's not my place to determine. It's not my place to, you know, even, you know, have to wonder. However, I think for him, it brought him the fulfillment that he needed at that time. And so that's awesome. But I think that the thing I always challenge people is, like what you're saying, is, and what you're all talking about is, like, you know, learning from doing the podcast or other things. It's like, there's nothing wrong with taking that chance, taking that risk to find out, to explore. I always tell my partner, like, let's find what brings you fulfillment. You have your job. Awesome. Right. Let's find what brings you fulfillment. And then a couple years later, it's cool to see how what brings her fulfillment ties in with what she's doing now.
Yeah.
Right. It just took some time and uncomfortable conversations with the people that you love and trust to say, hey, you know what? Like, I've been thinking about this.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, let's keep exploring it, right? Let's not shut it down.
Yeah.
Let's keep exploring it. And then also, but also let's have, let's also be real with the situation. However, dream big, and not just dream, go after it, take little steps, and that's why I bring it back to martial arts and boxing, because it's similar. It's like you gotta learn the reps, you gotta learn the drill before you can do something. And then before you know it, because you've been drilling it, you've been training it, you're like, wow, I didn't know I could do this. Right. But it might have been like, years later. So yeah.
I always bring things back to process, but there is something about stopping being thoughtful about a process that you're putting there. It's like, okay, I have my job. Now I have this passion or something to fulfill me. Maybe I'm not even good at it yet.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is something that I know I'm very interested in. And then kind of like, okay, what's the process? What are some of the small things you can start doing in the way? And then two things can happen when you can get it even, you can make it even better. Three things. One, you can just keep doing what you're doing, like just small steps, or you may identify like, this is really where the passion. And at that point, you've already started doing the work. You follow the process. There is a little bit of like the manifestation. Like, if you don't think about what's going to happen, there's nothing you can about what you want. You're not going to do anything to get there. Like, you need some sort of a destination. And I'm the kind of person that says a destination is, it's okay if it changes. Like, also don't set a destination and then just like, this is it. Like, it could be that during the process, you're going to decide this is not for me.
Yeah.
Which always also brings me back in, like, very few decisions in life are irreversible. You taking a small step and starting to develop some skills or something, like, you don't have to keep doing what you said you will. Amy said, we're not done.
Right.
We can keep doing that. But then it's like, okay, this feels right. Starting kind of putting the steps in place, and it will happen. If you are following the steps, it will happen. Sometimes you do need to trust the process with good points for, stopping the automatic thinking, recalibrating, is this still right, and keep going.
Yeah.
And another thing, as you were sharing, I was thinking was, if you can find people that not only will support you, but will challenge you in a healthy, like, safe way.
Yeah.
Whether it's mentors or just people, like-minded people. I was listening to one of your episodes yesterday, and she was talking about networking. I forgot the guess, but she's a politician or a Hmong woman. But like, she was talking about networking, and I was like, yeah, that's so good. And I know for a lot of people they get anxiety around that, but then it's like, but then when you start doing it, you start meeting people, and it's like, I'm not alone. And not only are you not alone, there are people that are cheering you on. Right? Like I've been part of this leadership group called Limitless, and for a month back, but for 12 weeks. And the facilitator, she's amazing, is Linda Cha. She used this word, and I've never used this word before, but now I'm using this word, shift. And I feel like all the stuff that I went through with her, if anything that happened from that, it was a shift. And it was, and that's the belief in myself. But if it went for her, it went for the other cohorts, I don't know if I would have got there.
Yeah.
Like that, or who knows. But when you start surrounding yourself, you get out of your head. Like, and we were just talking about this, about like the martial art gym. Like, why it's so important is because you're in community. Because when you're in there, you kind of you have to turn off that part of you that is dealing with like other stuff to train. But it's such a physical thing that your body is doing, the body's working, the mind's working. And in a sense, those of you that believe, like the spirit, the soul. And so that's what I really love about physicality and things like that, is because you have to turn off your brain. My partner was gardening the other day, and she's like, like, I'm so sore.
Yeah.
And she's like, who knew like this would be such a work? And I'm like, yeah, there's something beautiful about gardening. It's not really my jam, just saying, I appreciate it, but it's like getting down on my knees, like, you know, I do that with certain martial arts. I'll do it with my knees, but but I don't know about gardening. But I'll help once in a while if I can. Yeah, it's so cool. I just heard Jason Wilson on the Pivot podcast, and he was talking about how, because they're talking about like for men speaking to young boys, and he's like, my voice, it does change when I'm in the environment of the martial art gym, or maybe like, for example, like when you're coaching. And so like it will be loud, however it is a place of love and care and safety. And so that just made me think, because I'm like, when I was teaching my 8th grade after school boys, it's like, wow, I am yelling, and I'm like, but I'm not like mean, but I'm kind of like assertive, and I'm kind of like, get this done, like, what are we doing here, like. And then it's just like, and it's kind of fun to kind of see like that. And I remember just unpacking that with a friend, like do you think it's okay that I was like yelling at the boys? And it was like, yeah, like, of course, because how else are you gonna do it?
Get
like,
their
you can't,
attention.
yeah,
Yes.
you can't have a soft voice and be like, please,
Yeah.
like that.
Yes,
like
you,
that.
you have to be assertive. And honestly, even within industry, I reflect sometimes on some of the things that I say to clients now
Yeah.
that would have probably put me on some sort of performance improvement plan or some sort of an inconsistent or something. And then as soon as I left, it became, it's like, oh,
The norm.
we actually kind of need that.
Oh.
You're not here, so why don't you say it?
Yeah.
I was like, I'll say it.
Absolutely.
No problem.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. I'm wondering if we should get wrapping up. This has been so fun and quite a different episode than I think anyone's ever done. But I'm curious, where can people find you, Pete?
Yeah. So right now, I'm on the social media as PK Wong, at PK Wong. My website is pk/wong.com. And in a little bit here, actually, that's actually my task for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Everything is switching to not everything. Just I registered my business, Courage and Chaos.
Okay.
And so Courage and Chaos LLC. Okay. And I'm just learning how do I make that shift, because I've been wanting to do it, and and then just recently someone's like, you need to do it.
Yeah.
It's time.
And
you. So I was working as a sole proprietor before, and everything was under my name, but now it's like, okay, Courage and Chaos. And so everything, for now, is still PK Wong, and you'll still find me later on with Courage and Chaos. But post on Instagram, LinkedIn, definitely LinkedIn, Facebook, and working on the TikTok. I'm trying.
Boy.
I'm trying.
That is one that we just put it as out of scope when we started talking. I was like, we can bear. Well, Tina now does Instagram.
I do.
Okay,
Us.
there you go.
Very hip and modern.
Yes,
there you go.
But it's been a year and some. Hey, progress.
That's
not
right. Progress.
Perfection.
That's right.
Progress, not perfect.
Always something to learn, and it's kind of fun. I mean, I was talking to Isha yesterday, and it's like I posted a video about doing the wooden dummy just yesterday. And I'm like, I was thinking about doing this video for a long time, and I just never did it. And because I thought it, I don't know, like I thought it'd take a while, or and she said, yeah, because you probably want it to be perfect. And it's like, yeah, you're right. And then but then when I posted it, and I was like, that's exactly what I wanted to share, was that I've been doing this thing isolated for about almost 4 years, and I've seen the improvement, and I've been wanting to share it, but the only people that I share it with are the people I train with at the gym.
Yeah.
But then it's like, no, like, you need to share what you're doing, and there's people that could really utilize what you're teaching and what you're offering. I'm like, yeah, I know. So it's like, there's no more. I just got to do it now.
Get out there.
Yeah. So
no one is ever ready.
No,
That's
you're
right,
never ready, are you?
Yeah.
And it's never perfect enough, but getting it out there and being out there is the most important thing, because then people can decide whether you're someone they want to listen to or not. And
Exactly.
if they don't, that's okay. But if they do, great that you put yourself out there and took that risk.
Yeah.
So, good for you.
And it's just sharing with the world your gifts and your value and just who you are is a beautiful thing.
It
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
On that note,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Pete. Thank you, Tina. Thanks everyone that listened.
Thank you.
I definitely have a lot of new mentors to seek
Yes.
and at least do some reading. I actually love this season. I think I have so different new things that I'm learning.
Yeah,
So.
me too.
Awesome.
Me too. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
being
here.
both of you, and thank you, Paul Benke,
Yeah.
for the introduction. And Paul's always a great person, mentor, and yeah, check out Paul's stuff too. So
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you for having me
I
here.
did want to add,
Yeah.
Meichi Mua was the
Oh, yeah.
the episode that you were
Okay. Yeah.
referencing. So
Meichi
if
Mua.
anybody wants to check out Meichi's episode, that was
That's a
from
good one.
episode
Yeah.
season 1.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on Success Your Own Way. We hope you found this episode inspiring and took away actionable insights. Please tune in for our next episode. And if you know someone who is rethinking what success looks like in their life, please share this episode with them.